Hello, I'm Derek Dine Johnson. Today's video, I'm going to be telling at least a little bit of my story about how I fell into the anti-SJW community and how I got out. This was partially inspired by a video by The Barb, formerly known as Barbara for you to see, where she talked about how she fell into the rabbit hole and how she finally managed to get out and get happy. I'm going to take you back a little bit before I joined it. So I can try to convey my mindset about why I decided to join them and why I felt they were so important to me in the first place. When I was around 14, 15, I had gotten pulled out. I basically had myself pulled out of school a bit before that time because I had basically been bullied so heavily and the school wasn't really doing much to stop it. By the time I had been around 14, 15, I had pretty much stopped talking with people outside my house. In general, I grew up with no friends, no real contact outside world, outside of pen pals, and even then they eventually dropped off pretty quickly. I was suicidal nearly every fucking day and self-harming pretty heavily. I was also battling a lot with my sexuality and gender identity that I just didn't want to admit because I had been indoctrinated from literally childhood to be like this, to be an evangelical, which is extremely toxic and anti-LGBTQ+, and I had basically internalized those messages as facts, and that if I wanted to make God happy, I had to do it. Now, this does not excuse the actions I'm going to tell you about, but I hope it does help to explain why I had fallen so deeply. It all started when I began to discover Bearing's videos. I'd found them funny and basically it helped me to relax. And basically I thought, oh, these are so stupid. I'm just having fun laughing at them. Of course, not realizing that this was just being a cherry-picked version of reality meant to get me into this very reactionary mindset. But I had basically joined a group and begun to make friends in the group and had begun to even become somewhat of a small voice of influence in the group. And being popular and having all these friends really made me feel like I was happy and I was part of something better myself. That I had found a community to belong to. But I also completely ignored any warning signs, any toxicity, because I just cared more about making myself happy than anything else at that moment. I know it's selfish, but I guess I was just coming from this mindset of I finally have people to be with. Well, basically, I'd begun to get more and more into it and had bought into this idea that, the schools were brainwashing children to ruin America and kill free speech and to destroy artistic freedom. I know this sounds fucking ridiculous now, but basically all I had seen was stuff from the echo chamber that was just pushing this narrative and stuff that was just telling me to believe this narrative, and I didn't really have the best of critical thinking skills, so I just went along with it. Though that doesn't really excuse what I did, I had also basically, whenever I saw a video by Undoomed or something, I would go to the comment section of these people and just leave these really mean, nasty comments because I had justified myself. Oh, well, it's bad. I'm just having fun and joking around. It's their fault for pushing bad ideas. I'm just doing the right thing and fighting back against them. Looking back, it wasn't. Not even I really believed that. It was just a justification so I didn't have to confront what I was doing or who I had become. And basically, I'd been pushed this narrative that I believe that non-binary were just attention seekers that were hurting the true trans community. Ugh. Which, no. No, they are not. And I was wrong to think that. But I had only been hearing one side of the narrative. I never actually talked to any non-binary people. I never took the 5 fucking minutes to actually look into the research myself, to actually talk to them and get to know them. Because I believed that I knew everything, and I just had all this hatred and all this anger that had been built up for years that I was directing towards others. Instead of, looking inward and saying, hey, why am I so angry? Why do I have such an issue with this? Why do I still hold on to these ideas? Why do I feel this way? But I decided to deal with it the worst way possible, by hurting others so that maybe, just maybe, I could feel better. I just felt like if I hurt Riley Dennis more, maybe if I hurt Milo Stewart a little bit more, then I'll feel better. It's better for them to be hurt than for me to deal with this. I know those are really, really horrible, ugly thoughts and feelings, but that was the way I felt at the time. And I just want to say that I'm so sorry. Well, basically from there on I began to find more, including the one that I think is possibly the worst fucking group I've ever stumbled across. Anti-SJW with blackjack and hookers. This is a Facebook group, and I know that saying a Facebook group pretty much already does set the tone for what kind of group this was. They were in between all the, typical anti-woke stuff. They also laughed at videos of literal soldiers taunting starving children with food and water. And when I had pointed out that, hey, this was wrong, which, yeah, when even I'm saying, whoa, you guys are assholes, that should say something. I was made to be the bad guy because I was just getting in the way of their fun. But I kept ignoring the red flags because I just didn't want to lose the community I had built around myself. They had so many fucking dog whistles that were racist, like literally implying that black people were worthless, that they could never build any society, and just took credit for the work that the white people did. But at the time I wasn't so much keened into this stuff, and I had just saw it as, just a funny though joke. They're just poking fun at people like Godzi Kodzo and those other really extreme types that don't actually have any power. But deep down I wasn't getting any happier. I was just making myself and everybody and so many people around me more miserable. But I kept digging my heels in hopes that this community would actually make me happy, that I would be happy, for permanent, for once. He kept watching this content. Eventually I did stop going to the comments to harass people because it wasn't working, because I was just beginning to get a bad feeling about doing it. But I still kept with the community, still kept pushing these bullshit ideas that, like, the SJWs are the real threat. They're gonna destroy society and the world. Colleges are just brainwashing centers. I began to get tired of the anti-SJW community and began to finally become disillusioned with it around a couple years or so into Trump's presidency. Because, like, even at this point, I began to notice that Trump was just kind of, full of bullshit, and he was just telling people the things they wanted to hear. But pretty much so many people were like, oh, he's going to save America from the SJWs. He's going to do the good. Which, even I knew was fucking horse crap at this point. But was just seeing so many people that were like, just blindly defending him. And so many of these people being young children that were clearly being molded into this. And just seeing how many people had become just more noticeably right-wing. Which when I began, I thought, oh, we're left-wing, we're accepting. Took me a while to finally look back and see, oh crap, I was wrong. It wasn't that they had become more right-wing, it was just that I actually finally begun to notice it. Another thing that helped was actually going to colleges and talking with people who I didn't agree with. That finally helped me realize, oh, hey, these people aren't really the evil monsters I believed they were. They're just people who want to help and maybe not have the right idea. And I was overreacting to so much stuff. Freedom of speech and freedom of art and expression isn't going to die because of some people on Twitter. It's not going to end because some people were trying to make a point and communicated it badly. It was around 2019 or 2020 that I'd finally begun to, move in a better direction. Thanks to talking to people who I didn't agree with and actually beginning to look at things without this sort of echo chamber perspective finally helped me realize that, non-binary identities are real, that they're not just pretending to be trans for attention, that I was just some asshole who was harassing kids because I had been so caught up in this community and having a sense of belonging that I wasn't, and just wanting to be happy. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. There's no excuse for what I did or how I acted. This video isn't trying to, excuse my past or say that I was totally innocent. I was not. While I wasn't the worst, I was still pretty bad and still letting my own anger and hatred cloud my judgment along with my just desperation to feel accepted. I apologized to Milo for how I treated them. I still need to apologize to Riley Dennis, and I'm working on something to try to make up for what I did. Look, I know I can never undo the damage I caused, that I can never make up for who I was. But I'm trying my very best to at least mitigate the damage I caused and trying to help make things better now. To everyone who I hurt, I shouldn't have done it. There's no excuse. There's no reason for me to have done what I did. What I did was wrong. I was just a horrible, awful human being to so many people. And I apologize sincerely from the bottom of my heart. If there's anything I can do to make up for it, please let me know. I'll do my best.